Every single day, millions of people drive through New York State. Not to New York City. Through New York State. Pit stops, gas breaks, a bathroom, a snack. Back on the road in 10 minutes. Most of those stops are completely fine. But on New Year's Day 2025, a man stopped for gas on Fillmore Avenue in Buffalo, New York. 3:30 in the morning. He never made it back to the pump. He was shot before he got there. That is not a freak incident. That is a pattern. And it does not just happen in Buffalo. There are 10 cities inside New York State right now where the violent crime rate runs triple the national average. Where your car gets marked the second you step away from it. Where tourists get clocked by their plates, by their clean shoes, by the way they stand at the pump staring at their GPS like they have never been somewhere unfamiliar before. You know what that looks like to the wrong person? It looks like an opportunity. And here is what nobody tells you about these cities. The most dangerous ones do not look dangerous. They have tourism boards. They have hotel websites with 5-star photos. They've gas stations right off the interstate with good lighting and familiar brand names on the sign. That infrastructure exists for one reason, to get you to stop. And once you stop, once you are standing at that pump with your wallet out and your attention split, some of these cities have entire ecosystems built around what happens next. Not the city government, not the businesses. The people who have learned that a distracted tourist at a gas pump is the easiest target on any given Tuesday. In the cities on this list, your chance of becoming a crime victim runs as high as 1 in 22. Not 1 in a million. Not 1 in 1,000. 1 in 22. We have the FBI data. The New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services numbers. NeighborhoodScout cross-references. Local police reports. This is not a vibe. This is not fear-mongering. This is what the data says about 10 real cities that millions of people drive through every single year and never see coming. Let's count them down. Watertown, New York, 30 miles south of the Canadian border, St. Lawrence River country. It looks exactly like the kind of town your grandmother describes when she talks about real America. Brick buildings, a town square, a coffee shop with a handwritten menu on a chalkboard. Canadians cross the border specifically to shop here. The exchange rate works in their favor. The stores are familiar. Watertown built an entire local economy around that cross-border traffic. The parking lots, the strip malls, the gas stations clustered right off the exits. Huge setup, right? Watertown's crime rate sits 104% above the national average. Not slightly elevated, not a rough patch, double. Your chance of becoming a crime victim here, 1 in 22. Here's what that actually looks like. Picture a packed hockey rink. Because this is upstate New York and everyone here knows exactly what a packed hockey rink looks like. 1,200 people in the stands. Statistically, 54 of them will be crime victims this year in Watertown. That is not the visiting team's fans. That is just Tuesday. Watertown's core problem is economic fracture. The Canadian shopping traffic created surface prosperity, decent retail, busy parking lots, the illusion of a healthy local economy. But underneath that, decades of manufacturing decline, high poverty concentration, and a police force stretched thin across a geographically wide city. Larceny theft is the dominant crime here, hundreds of reported cases annually. The quick kind. The kind that happens in the 60 seconds you spend inside grabbing a drink. The Canadians who come to shop here are smart about it. They come during the day, they stay in the commercial corridors. They keep their car keys in their hand and their receipts in their pocket. They have done this before. They know which parking lots to avoid after 4 p.m. You do not. The Canadians come for the deals. They leave before dark. Ask yourself why they know something you don't. Utica, New York, right at the base of the Adirondack Mountains. Mohawk River running through it. People discover Utica and feel like they cracked the code. Rent is genuinely, shockingly cheap. In a state where people hand over $3,000 a month for a studio, Utica looks like a financial miracle. It became one of the largest refugee resettlement cities in the entire country. Families from Bosnia, Somalia, Myanmar, drawn by low cost of living and the real promise of starting over. That is a genuine, beautiful story. Here is the other story. Utica's crime rate runs 74% above the national average. 1 in 25 chance of becoming a crime victim. Now think about that number differently. Not in dollars, In time, you move to Utica to save money. Smart, rational, makes complete sense on a spreadsheet. But here is what your spreadsheet did not calculate. The hour you spend filing a police report after your car window gets kicked in. The week you lose dealing with insurance after a break-in. The cumulative grinding awareness after 3 months of living here that certain blocks are only safe until a certain hour, and that learning that knowledge costs you something that no rent saving ever gives back. Peace of mind does not show up on a lease agreement. Utica's danger is structural, not random. Decades of deindustrialization stacked concentrated poverty into specific zip codes. Refugee resettlement, while genuinely meaningful, brought vulnerable populations into areas with thin social services and inconsistent police coverage. Outsiders stand out immediately here. New car, clean coat, unfamiliar face at the corner store. The locals who grew up here carry a mental map of which blocks are which gas stations to skip after 9, which shortcuts are actually traps. That knowledge takes years to build. You cannot download it from Zillow. The mountains are real, the river is real, the cheap rent is real, the odds are also real. Every local knows which blocks to skip. You won't know until you've already skipped the wrong one. Number 8. Binghamton, New York. 6 antique carousels, still running, still free to ride. Binghamton built them in the early 1900s and kept them going as a point of civic pride. Free carousels for everyone, always. That kind of commitment to community is not nothing. IBM got its start here. The city helped build the first computers that changed how the world works. There was real industry here, real prosperity, real identity. IBM left. The carousel stayed. And Binghamton's property crime rate became 4,287 per 100,000 people. The national average is 1,900. Binghamton is running more than double the national average for property crime. Think about that not as a statistic, think about it as a countdown clock. You pull into a Binghamton gas station near Route 17. You go inside. 60 seconds. Coffee. Snack. Back to the pump. In Binghamton, 60 seconds is a career for someone who does this for a living. No crowbar. No drama. No broken glass. Just someone who clocked your keys still in the console, your bag on the passenger seat, and your back turned and made a decision before you finished paying. Your car is already moving before you hit the door. When the factory economy collapsed here, it did not just take jobs, it took the tax base that funded police, the community infrastructure that kept blocks accountable, the generational stability that gives neighborhoods their immune system against crime. What replaced it was concentrated unemployment, compressed poverty, and a city government trying to police a wide geographic area with shrinking resources. Visitors who cut through on Route 17 are not thinking about any of that. They are thinking about getting back on the highway. The people who watch those highway exits are thinking about exactly that too. The carousels are still free. Everything else here will cost you. This is not random crime. These exit ramps are known. The targets are chosen before they even park. Schenectady, New York. The name comes from the Mohawk word Skanatati, meaning beyond the pines. Dutch colonists founded the city in the 1600s. The Stockade District, its historic core, is one of the oldest continuously inhabited neighborhoods in the United States. Walking those cobblestones actually feels like another century. General Electric built its empire here. Edison worked here. This city powered the industrial backbone of America for decades. One block off the postcard. Schenectady's crime rate, 80% above the national average. Violent crime, double the United States average. Picture it this way. You book a weekend in the Stockade District. Charming inn. Good reviews. $68 a night. Sounds like a clever find. But the Stockade District sits inside a city where 1 in every 24 people becomes a crime victim annually. Burglaries in the surrounding blocks run at some of the highest per capita rates in the entire county. Your rental car in that cobblestone lot does not get protected by the architecture. It gets targeted because of it. Because it is a rental. Because it is clean. Because it has an unfamiliar plate. Because it is exactly the kind of car that belongs to someone who does not know which block they are actually on. GE's departure from Schenectady carved out the same economic wound that Kodak left in Rochester and IBM left in Binghamton. Same story, different city, same result. Concentrated poverty packed into specific corridors right next to the historic districts that attract visitors. The stockade looks like one city, the blocks behind it are another city entirely. Locals navigate that boundary automatically. They grew up knowing exactly where the line is. You'll cross it without knowing a line exists, and unlike a road, it has no signs. 7 cities down, 3 to go. And I need you to understand something before we get to the top 3. Everything we have covered so far, the double national averages, the 1 in 24 odds, the hollow industrial cores dressed up in pretty tourism branding, that is the warm-up. The next 3 cities are where the numbers stop feeling like statistics and start feeling like a threat, especially number 1. Number 1 is going to change how you look at a gas station for the rest of your life. Every city has a wrong side of the tracks. Schenectady forgot to build the tracks. Albany, New York, the state capital. The governor lives here. The legislature meets here. Every law governing 30 million New Yorkers gets written, debated, and signed into existence in this city. Law enforcement agencies, state-level federal field offices, regulatory bodies have their headquarters within blocks of that Capitol dome. If any city in New York should be safe, it is the one where the people who write the laws actually live. Albany's crime rate, 103% above the national average. Your chance of becoming a crime victim, 1 in 22. And back in 2018, Albany's violent crime rate hit 837 per 100,000 residents. That same year, New York City's rate was 541, the state capital. More violent than New York City. Documented. On record. Let that land. Here is the specific geometry of danger in Albany that every traveler needs to understand. The government corridor, the Capitol, the agency buildings, the hotels where lobbyists stay is policed aggressively. Cameras everywhere. Rapid response. That quarter-mile radius is protected like a compound. Step outside it and you are in a completely different city. The interstate exits that travelers use, I-90, I-787s, drop you nowhere near that protected corridor. They drop you into neighborhoods where the crime rate is not the capital's crime rate, not even close. The gas stations near those exits sit in the unprotected Albany, the Albany that does not make the press releases. The Albany that the suits driving in from the suburbs on a Monday morning never actually see. That is the Albany you stop in when your tank hits empty on the highway. Albany crafts the laws that are supposed to keep you safe. It just cannot seem to enforce them within its own city limits. There are 2 Albanys, the one with the marble steps, and the one you actually stop in for gas. Syracuse, New York, central New York's loudest city. Syracuse University, that iconic orange. March Madness runs that make the whole state pay attention. And every August, the Great New York State Fair. 12 days. Over 1 million visitors. The single largest event in New York State outside of New York City itself. Syracuse has energy. It has identity. It has things worth showing up for. Syracuse has the highest total crime rate in all of New York State. Not one of the highest. Number 1. Total crime rate 40,999 per 100,000 p199 per 100,000 people. That is 1.8 times the national average. Here is the geometry that every state fair visitor needs to understand. The South Side corridor accounts for 38% of all violent offenses in the entire city. 38%. One zone. The gas stations near the highway exits. The ones that look convenient, the ones your GPS recommends because they are the first ones off the ramp, sit directly on the edge of that corridor. You pull off I-81 thinking you are making a smart stop before parking. You just parked inside the most dangerous statistical zone in the most dangerous city in New York State. The fair is 2 miles away. Your car might not be. Syracuse's danger has a clear origin. The collapse of manufacturing on the South Side left entire neighborhoods economically hollowed. High poverty, low mobility, concentrated unemployment with no replacement industry to fill the gap. That kind of structural collapse does not fix itself quickly. It generates the conditions where crime becomes one of the few available economies. Locals from those neighborhoods know exactly which blocks to navigate and how. Visitors following a GPS do not get that orientation. And then, at the very end, here's the number that makes Syracuse different from every other city on this list. 22 people were murdered here in 2024. Not a crime index. Not a per capita rate. 22 actual people. Gone. 1 year. 22 murders make Syracuse the deadliest city by raw count in upstate New York, and it is only number 5 on this list. Which means what is coming next, the top 4, requires your full attention. Especially number 1. You think you know which city it is. You probably don't. Number 1 on this list has a crime statistic that makes Syracuse look like a quiet suburb. Stay with us. Eastman Kodak was born here. For most of the 20th century, Rochester meant something. Innovation. A working middle class. A city that built a product the entire world used to capture its most important moments. The city even has actual waterfalls running through it. Waterfalls. Inside the city limits. Rochester had everything. Then Kodak collapsed, and Rochester never recovered. Today, crime rate's 86% above the national average. Chance of becoming a crime victim, 1 in 24. Rochester ranks among the 4% least safe cities in the entire United States. Think about those odds differently, not as a percentage, as a bracket. Take every city in America, all of them, and rank them from safest to most dangerous. Rochester is near the very bottom of that bracket. Not bottom of New York, not bottom of the Northeast, bottom 4% of the entire country. The next time a travel blog calls Rochester an underrated gem, that writer has not looked at the same data you are looking at right now. Rochester's collapse follows the same blueprint as Binghamton and Schenectady, deindustrialization carving out the economic core and leaving concentrated poverty in specific corridors with inadequate resources to address it. But Rochester's scale makes it more dangerous. The Northeast neighborhoods run aggravated assaults at 5.1 per thousand, the highest concentration in all of New York State. Carjackings along I-490 are documented and ongoing. Motor vehicle theft spiked and held. In the highway corridors that out-of-state travelers use, I-90, I-490, I-3090, I-3090 all pass through or directly adjacent to the highest crime zones. There is no clean route through Rochester that keeps you fully clear of those zones. The Waterfall District is a 10-minute drive from the Northeast neighborhoods. 10 minutes is nothing on a map. It is a completely different risk calculation on the ground. Rochester deserved better than what Kodak's collapse left behind. The gorge is still there, still stunning. But until this city gets the investment it has been promised for 30 years, you fill up before you exit, you keep the doors locked, and you do not linger. The waterfall is 10 minutes from the most dangerous neighborhood in New York State. Your GPS will not tell you that. Niagara Falls, New York. One of the most visited natural wonders on the planet. 8 million tourists every year. People fly in from Japan, Brazil, Germany, just to stand at that edge and feel the weight of that water. And they should. No screen prepares you for it. The sound alone changes something. This place was built architecturally, commercially, psychologically to receive you. The hotels, the souvenir shops, the tour operators in yellow rain ponchos on every corner. They are completely ready for you. New York State Park Police once broke up an organized ring operating right here at Niagara Falls. 6 people arrested. Their operation? Stealing Discovery Pass tickets from the Cave of the Winds and Maid of the Mist attractions. Reselling them through local tour companies to tourists who thought they were getting a deal. The tourists were standing at one of the most beautiful places on Earth. They were being systematically worked, and that is just the documented, organized version. More than 97% of all communities in New York State have a lower crime rate than this city. Poverty rate, 23.5%. Nearly 1 in 4 residents. Median home value, $78,478. In a state where average homes top $300,000, here is a specific trap that catches tourists at Niagara Falls every single season. You visit the falls. You spend money on the waterfront. Everything feels managed and safe because the waterfront zone is managed and safe. It is maintained specifically to keep the 8 million annual visitors spending. Then you need gas before you leave. Your GPS finds a station 3 minutes away. Just off the tourist corridor, reasonable price. That station sits in a neighborhood where theft from vehicles is not occasional. It is a daily pattern. Tourists who drifted 3 blocks from the approved zone are so predictable here that locals can spot them instantly. The poncho's still in the bag, the camera's still around the neck, the complete absence of awareness that the postcard ended at the last intersection. The falls are genuine. The safety ends where the souvenir shops do. 8 million people visit every year. Most leave fine. The ones who don't all made the same mistake. They trusted the feeling of safety that the waterfront was designed to create. They built an entire industry around making you stop here. Every person within 3 blocks of that pump is counting on exactly that. Buffalo, New York. Let's be honest about something first. Buffalo has real soul. Bills Mafia is not a fan base, it is a covenant. The devotion in this city to that football team is one of the most authentic things in American sports. Raw, loyal, unshakable, completely unbothered by decades of heartbreak. The food here is not a gimmick. The wings invented at Anchor Bar are a cultural institution. People drive 4 hours specifically to have the argument about whether Anchor Bar or Duff's is better, and that argument is worth every mile. Buffalo has grit. Buffalo earned its chip. On New Year's Day 2025, a man was shot at a gas station on Fillmore Avenue. 3:30 in the morning, just getting gas. Crime rate 46 per 1,000 residents. Chance of becoming a crime victim, 1 in 22. Within New York State, 99% of all communities are safer than Buffalo. 99%. The East Side accounts for 48% of all shootings in the entire city, nearly half of all shootings. One neighborhood. Here is what makes Buffalo specifically dangerous for people passing through. The safe blocks and the dangerous blocks sit directly next to each other with no visible signal, no obvious transition, no warning, no change in street lighting or signage that tells you the neighborhood just shifted. You think you know where you are because you were just somewhere that felt fine. You don't. The highway corridors, I-90, I-190, the Kensington Expressway, all route through or directly adjacent to the highest crime zones in the city. Motor vehicle theft climbed and held. Larceny climbed, and the gas stations that appear on your GPS as convenient highway stops, they are convenient for everyone, including the people who have mapped exactly which ones get the most out-of-state traffic at which hours. Buffalo does not hide its danger, it just looks exactly like everywhere else. Buffalo deserves the Super Bowl. Buffalo deserves the investment and recovery that 30 years of promises never delivered. But today, the data says what it says. Fill up before you get here, or after you leave. Just not on Fillmore Avenue at 3:30 in the morning. Buffalo's most dangerous streets look exactly like its safest ones. That is not an accident. That is the whole problem. Newburgh, New York. We are not going to open with how beautiful it looks, because that is exactly how every city on this list fooled you. And Newburgh is too dangerous for that trick to work one more time. More than 96% of all communities in New York State have a lower crime rate than Newburgh. Violent crime rate, 1,129 per 100,000 people. Bottom 10% of every city in the United States that reported violent crime. Not New York State, not the Northeast region. Every city in the country. We surveyed Newburgh residents, not tourists, not outsiders, about walking alone in their own city at night. 83% said they would be hesitant. Here is a number that defines life in Newburgh. 1 crime every 5 hours and 26 minutes, not a spike. Not a bad month, not a rough neighborhood. The baseline, the clock that runs every single day whether you are visiting or not. 5 hours, 26 minutes, the waterfront coffee shop closes at 4 p.m. The crime clock does not close. Newburgh is the most dangerous city on this list for one specific reason that goes beyond the statistics. It is the most deceptive. The Hudson Valley branding is real. The waterfront murals are fresh. The coffee shop takes cards and has good lighting and a chalkboard menu. Developers have been saying Newburgh is next for 15 straight years. That language, up and coming, hidden gem, just discovered, is the most dangerous language a traveler can hear, because it creates exactly the kind of lowered guard optimism that makes you stop without thinking. You pull off because the Instagram photos are accurate. You stop for gas on Broadway. And Broadway in Newburgh is not the Broadway your brain pictures when you hear the word Broadway. Nobody corrected that assumption before you got there. Newburgh's people deserve everything this city has been promised and denied. The bones here are real. The river is extraordinary. The potential has always been real. But potential and present reality are two different things. And the present reality, bottom 10% in the country, 1 crime every 5 hours and 26 minutes. 83% of locals too cautious to walk their own streets at night, that reality does not care about the murals. New York will take your breath away. Just make sure that is all it takes. If this video changed how you think about a road trip through New York, share it with someone who is planning one right now. They will not see this information in a travel guide. Drop in the comments which city surprised you most, because the answer is almost never the one people expect. And if you want the same breakdown for every other state in America, subscribe, because we are just getting started.